Alright, what is up everybody? My name is Sen and welcome to a video where I just kind of chat with you guys. Today I want to talk about fighting games, but before that I wanted to say that I've been watching a series on YouTube called The Recipe. It's a bit of an older series, but I was looking for some good Say Jam, Tasty Steve content and I stumbled upon this on Cross Counter. And while I was watching it, I kind of binged it all within one day or so. And while I was watching it, I was thinking about, man, I would love to have a series like this with actually Vince, because obviously we play fighting games together, we love fighting games collectively, and I figured doing something like that with the homie where we just mess around with a fighting game online or whatever would be a lot of fun. And I figured the game we'd probably play together the most would probably be Street Fighter, because we both have a okay beginner collective understanding of how to play the game or how we want to play the game. It wouldn't be very fair if we were to play Dragon Ball FighterZ, because I'm very intimately familiar with Dragon Ball FighterZ at lower and a little bit higher ranks, where Vince has not that much. Now we could play something like Under Night 2, but I figured Street Fighter would probably be a good middle ground for us, where neither of us really had too much of an advantage over the other. And we could do something like learn a random character together that we both play, and we both play on hitbox, so that's good. But yeah, I would love to do something like that with the homie Vince at some point in time. I don't know when or how we would set that up, but it would be dope. But now for what I actually wanted to talk about was what games I think, and by games I mean fighting games, what fighting games I think my friends would main if they picked one, if they sat down with a fighting game, picked it, and were to like it, probably like it a lot. Now some definitely are a little bit tougher than others, and I will include myself into this conversation, and with that it is what fighting game I would play if I did not mainly play Dragon Ball FighterZ. Like, what would be the next in line that would get all my attention and I would just nerd out on. So kind of getting the easiest out of the way, or at least I think is the easiest out of the way, would be Andrew. Andrew's, I've talked about this before. Andrew's kind of a man of spectacle. He likes, things looking good, looking dope or whatever. So you have two different types. You have like anime spectacle, which would be something like Dragon Ball or Guilty Gear or Grand Blue. All very good looking games. But I couldn't really see Andrew playing an anime game that seriously, if we're being completely honest. It just doesn't seem like his niche, his groove, where he'd sink into. I would say Andrew would probably either likely be a Killer Instinct player, because he follows Max, and I know he appreciates Killer Instinct because of it, or probably Mortal Kombat, because he is already familiar with the franchise. He does like the franchise for what it is, and I think he digs it, and I think he's into it already, so it wouldn't be that far a stretch to be like, alright, this would probably be your main game. Now, for Vince, would probably be the next easiest to tackle, and the bar between Vince and Andrew of how easy or difficult it is to pick a fighting game for gets skewed quite heavily. Like, they're definitely in different realms from each other, because Vince and I play a lot of fighting games together. Like, we'll mess around with a fighting game for a little bit, and Vince and I do have a favorite fighting game, which is Under Night, actually. But Under Night is not the main game that I play. Dragon Ball FighterZ has already gotten my attention for a long time now, so it's a bit harder to put down. And there's more traffic on Dragon Ball generally, but just going down the list, Vince and I play Under Night. Vince has played a little bit of Dragon Ball. He's played a healthy bit of Street Fighter. I think he dabbled a little bit with Skullgirls. I know he's messed around a little bit with Tekken. I know he's fucked around with Soul Calibur. I know he's messed around with Mortal Kombat a little bit. He probably has about as big a list as I do. I might have him like slightly beat, or he might have me slightly beat, not that it really matters. But we both played a lot of fighting games. So I would say probably the one that Vince has spent the most time in would be Street Fighter V, which would already be a heavy contender. Now with Vince and with Vince in particular, Vince doesn't want a game that he can. He probably doesn't want a game he needs to constantly study, and I feel two of the biggest contenders would be Street Fighter, as we already went over, and Tekken. I could definitely see Vince playing Tekken. Now with Tekken though, which is kind of what X's itself out, so obviously we're left with Street Fighter, but with Tekken, I feel like Tekken needs a good bit more external knowledge or external rating because, you know, there's a healthy cast of characters, but within the healthy cast of characters is 80 to 100 moves, and memorizing a bunch of them is very tough, and knowing the frame data around them, not just knowing your character in and out, but knowing matchups as well of these 80 to 100 moves, a little bit of a tall order, just a little bit. Now with myself in Tekken, I like Tekken quite a bit as well. But I really just play Tekken by feel. I haven't really studied much even on my characters that I play. And the characters that I play are, I put down Leroy a while back, but I did mess around with some Leroy. When I first got into the game, I messed around with some Noctis, because, you know, I'm a scrub. I'm kidding, Noctis players. Calm down. It's fine. You can play whoever the fuck you want. I don't care. And then I put a good bit of time into Brian, and right now I'm playing Asuka, because I just felt like it, whatever. And at no point have I really learned any frame data for any of my characters. I'm just playing exclusively off feel and having a good, fun time with it. So I would say for Vince, it would definitely be Street Fighter V, because one, he's already familiar with it and comfortable with it, probably. And it just seems like his kind of game. Like, Vince can appreciate anime fighters, but actually seeing him, like, really kind of in-depth with one seems a bit taller of an order. As I said, Under Night is collectively our favorite fighting game. We both love Under Night. Now, I guess I'll move on to myself before I hit up Brandon, because Brandon, I feel, would be the toughest to pick out, maybe. So, I play a bunch of fighting games. Not super well in any of them. Dragon Ball FighterZ, as we all know, is my best. But if I were to move on down to the one I played the next, that gets a bit more gray. I actually don't know what fighting game I've sunk a lot of time into other than Dragon Ball FighterZ. Dragon Ball FighterZ has been that one for me that, you know, I'll put it down for a little while. I put it down for like a couple months, but then I came back with a vengeance and have just been more or less playing it faithfully. You know, I spent an okay amount of time learning Pocket Sub-Zero in case anyone wanted to play MK11. Spent an okay amount of time in Street Fighter V, and I do like Street Fighter V quite a bit. I love to spend more. Tekken, I spent an okay amount of time in Tekken. I own Killer Instinct. I haven't booted up yet. I'm looking forward to. I do want to play it at some point in time. It's just finding the actual time to boot it up. You know, I've played Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. I've played Guilty Gear a little bit. Not that much. I would love to spend more time with Guilty Gear as well. You know, I've played a whole bunch of games, but thinking about what is actually comparable to the amount of time I put into Dragon Ball is very tough. And I might say the closest one would be Street Fighter V. And I do feel like Street Fighter V is very, very fun. But could I see myself as a Street Fighter player? I feel like I fit a bit more of the anime category, but I'm really fine with playing anything just about. You know, something I like about Mortal Kombat is I like the feeling of the footsies in neutral in Mortal Kombat, and I like the heavy emphasis on footsies that I play in in Street Fighter. I feel like I focus a lot around footsies these days, in Street Fighter V in particular. I love Under Night. I really dig Under Night. Tekken's very fun. I'm struggling to like really get comfortable with neutral and Tekken, but I do feel like it's a lot of fun because it is that game that I can play almost exclusively at a feel-based kind of approach, or I don't know. But I kind of feel I fall into the same category with Vince, where I do want to be able to just kind of casually pick up and put down a fighting game, and that's part of the appeal for Dragon Ball FighterZ with me. Like, I can put down Dragon Ball FighterZ for a while and not feel as if I lost anything. In some cases, I feel like I even got better, because there was a time where, yeah, I put down Dragon Ball FighterZ for like a couple of months, but came back playing even better, because in that whole time I was playing, wasn't playing, I was still watching people play and getting these strategies and getting better ideas of what to do and when to do it. So I think Vince and I both fall into Street Fighter V. Now, I'm not saying Street Fighter V is a casual game by any means. You know, there's still a lot of things to know. There's still a lot of things to look out for. But what actually made me better at Street Fighter V was watching Punk play, and watching Punk play neutral and like his approach towards footsies. And I was like, oh, you know, maybe I should try that walking back and forth thing. You know, that seems to work pretty good, and it does. So I would probably play Street Fighter. After that, like, I think Vince and I fall into similar categories. After that, I feel like it'd be Tekken, but Tekken has so much. Actually, I could see myself playing Marvel. I could see myself very much playing Marvel. Now, Marvel's in a bit of a weird spot with its, you know, lack of players. I tried to search for a game on Marvel Infinite. I could not find a game at all. I know people are doing things with Parsec in Marvel 3. It's just really tough to find where the life is at and where the scene is at for Marvel. But yeah, if there was a Marvel game, like if Marvel Infinite was like popping and I knew people that play and I could find matches really easily, I could see myself playing Marvel. But for that fact that I cannot find matches very easily, that's probably why I play Street Fighter. Okay, now for the tallest order, which is Brandon. He definitely played Mortal Kombat. I'm kind of kidding when I'm saying that, but I'm also kind of not. Now, Brandon has talked to me about certain interests in fighting games, but I actually don't know what he looks for in a fighting game. Like, what is interesting for Brandon when he sees this game being played? Now, I know he's watched, you know, some matches of Dragon Ball, so there is an innate interest to some degree, and I would say Brandon, more than anyone else other than myself, I could see playing anime games, like anime fighters. So there is that, you know, option for Dragon Ball. There is that option for Guilty Gear. There is that option for, you know, Grand Blue, Blaze Blue, whatever. I couldn't see Brandon playing Street Fighter. I could not see Brandon playing. Maybe I could see him playing Tekken. Maybe. That's a big maybe. Now, I know Brandon already likes Mortal Kombat. I know he has followed a bit of the story in the past. I'm not sure to what degree, or I'm not sure how much he's played. But when we sat down to play Mortal Kombat 10, like, I saw him looking at like strings and stuff, and I saw him like, you know, going over his special moves and everything. So I kind of knew he was like familiar. So Mortal Kombat is possible, but he definitely screams a bit more anime fighter to me. I want Brandon to play Gear. I want him to play Strive when that comes out, but I don't know if that'd be his main game. So the thing with Brandon is, in these anime fighters, within like the subsection of anime fighters, there's one-on-one games and there's tag games. I could see him playing one-on-one games. I don't know if I could see him playing tag games. I could maybe see him liking Under Night a lot. If he sat down and gave Under Night time, I think he would like the game a lot. I think I could see that being Brandon's main game. Now, yeah, I think I'm fine with Under Night. Okay, so going back over everything, Andrew was Mortal Kombat. Myself was Street Fighter V. Vince was Street Fighter 5, and Brandon was Under Night. Alright, well, that's going to do things for us this time. Yeah, this was actually a lot of fun to kind of think about and consider of what I think would appeal to my friends, and not just my friends, but myself. I think next time I'm going to go through some fighting games and talk about which characters I think each of us would play. So, like, I could, you know, say Brandon would play Dhalsim in Street Fighter. I don't know how true that is, but I could say it. Alright, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.